Rule number 3, temper precision with joy and passion. Knowledge and technique are important, but to really make the grade, the conductor knows that pieces soar when in the role of fool they're played. Traditionally, fools like conductors were men, usually from the lower rank. Their marginalized existence gave them freedom to be frank. Most cultures have their wise fools, whose comical insight hold tradition and custom to a brighter light. Heyokas always oppose the norm. They work as a contrary. Kosharis remind us of our greed. Tricksters make us wary. Jesters often had the ears of the lords and kings. Clowns remind us to find joy in the least of things. In addition to the savvy fools, there are also those less wise who remind us that we can succeed without either brains or size. So the quote is, come the millennium month 12, in the home of the greatest power, the village idiot will come forth to be acclaimed the leader. Sorry. So what good is playing the fool? What purpose can it serve? For one thing, it brings joy to life and fills our souls with verve. Humor puts all the fun into profundity and teaches us that there's not much difference between acting comic or cosmically.
He was happy. And I also show this, to senior management. People get annoyed. You come to work, how come you're so happy? Something must be wrong there. Yeah? But he's spreading happiness. And I think happiness, the important thing is this happiness does not come from only his own story and his joy of music. The joy is about enabling other people's stories to be heard at the same time.
There is no shortage of trauma or sadness in our path. Joy allows you to deal with it using a skip and a small laugh. So Sigmund Freud said that wit is the denial of suffering. And I don't think he meant it was the denial of its existence, just a denying the hold that it has to have on us. Along with joy comes passion for your clients and your profession. It will help you regain pleasure for each family and each session.
He was not trying to say, look at me, I'm having a wonderful time, but he just couldn't prevent it. It was as natural to him as swimming. And he had this extraordinary ability to make the players go along with that rhythmical current.
Felt like that after finishing up with a family? Nietzsche said, almost every vocation is chosen and entered upon as a means to a purpose, but is ultimately continued as a final purpose in itself. So what I'd like to know is, why did you choose your profession? There's some students here and you're just starting, and why did you choose it? And for those of you who are further along, right, why are you in it now? Have you evolved, stagnated, regressed, right? I mean, why are you doing what you're doing? We have to find that feeling at the end of the session. So to keep your focus and dedication from falling into a rut or chasm, you need to embrace both passion and enthusiasm.
Do you know what Mark wrote at the end of every piece he wrote? For the glory of God. That's what that says. That says, do you know the word enthusiasm? What that means? What does it really mean? Yes, but what is the real etymological meaning? Theo is God. Enthusiastic means full of God. So we should only grade people on their enthusiasm. That's all. There is nothing else worth grading them on.
Rule number 4. Balance the players. When deciding what stance would work with the family mob, you need to act like a conductor successfully doing their job. Just as they balance the violins, the percussion, and the oboe, and keep the orchestra silent during someone's special solo, you need to adjust the score to fit the family's composition, empowering all the players while maintaining your position. Sometimes the family plays a simple tune, other times a symphony. You need to ensure that all have a voice, but on a basic plan agree. They don't all have to play the same notes. Each has a different sound, but find a way to weave their stories into some common ground. Another way to balance the players and know just what to do is by understanding the cooperation style the family gives to you. Some members are highly cooperative. They talk openly and say, yes, yes. They take on board your suggestions and rarely second guess. Other family members always just say no. They glower and rant and oppose everything until it's time to go. Most families vacillate between cooperation high and no. Maybe is their byword, depending on how the sessions flow. Other members come to see you, disempowered and distressed, complaining that their entire life is a hopeless mess. All interactions grind into an unproductive rut, and any ideas that you suggest, they meet with a yes, but. It's important to understand that no response is good or bad. They could even be adaptive based on what experiences they've had. So if you're looking at cooperation and you're looking at people who always say yes, that can be a very positive thing in that they're just a pleasant, cooperative person, right? They want the interaction to go smoothly, they respect you, they value you, they want things to go well, and so they're happy to go along with things. That's the positive side of saying yes. But what about some of our teenagers, for instance, who only say yes because they're afraid no one else will like them? They dress how everyone dresses. They do what everyone does for them. So someone says, you want to come steal a car? And they go, yes. That's possibly not as good an idea. The same thing's true with saying no. It's not always bad when someone refuses to cooperate. I mean, sometimes there are people who are just out there to make your life miserable, and I can accept that fact. And as a matter of fact, in terms of opposition, if you look at the government system in New Zealand, right, we have the government, and for those of you who live there, what are the other parties called? The opposition. And that's how they behave. So if one party says yes, the other has to say no. They're required to do it. The other time that saying no might be a really valid thing to do is after someone has had a history of abuse. You see this all the time. If someone has a child, let's say, has a history of abuse, they go to school, a teacher asks them to get out a book. They go, if I get out this book, it's going to feel just like that abuse situation. Because isn't that what abuse is? Someone is doing something to you and you don't have the right to say no. But here I am in school and it's safe and it feels good, and the teacher says, get out your book, and I can go, no, 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 right? And it's a valid, adaptable thing to do because it's helping them reaffirm their personhood. And so it's not that saying yes is good and saying no is bad. People usually have some very good reasons for doing one or the other. Once you know the cooperation pattern that someone is giving you, select a stance that will make the outcome true. You can essentially choose between 4 different options, but because of time today, I'm going to stress 2 basic ones for adoption. In a directive stance, you make suggestions without any hesitations. You give the family advice and create interventions.
What is more effective if you'll need to...
I think both it's really good. That way it's family working together rather than an outside therapist coming in. But if the 3 of you were together saying, okay, so if more than 3 boys come over more than twice a week, then we're going to take away your cell phone for a month.
Taking a non-directive stance creates and allows collaborations, encouraging the family to take control and find their own variations.
What's different? Do you see the eyes? Closed. Do you see the hands? She says, yes, the worst damage I can do to my orchestra is to give them a clear instruction, because that would prevent the ensemble, the listening to each other that's needed for an orchestra. That's great. What about the eyes? Why are the eyes closed? Yeah? There's a wonderful story about a guy I'm conducting in London. And he cues me a flute player, like this. The guy has no idea what to do. Maestro, with all due respect, when should I start? What do you think Karan's reply was? When should I start? Oh yeah. He says, you start when you can't stand it anymore.
It's important to understand that both stances have value and reason. One can be directive or collaborative, depending on the season. We shouldn't decide how we're going to act before we even meet the family, based on our personal prejudices or commitment to a philosophy. We have to value all paths, authoritative and those that are not. People can flourish under direction or get confused if no one fills that spot. Okay, so we're going to go, you don't have to get up, okay? But what you do need to do is clap, right? So we'll practice first. So everybody ready? Okay. So we're going to try, but you've got it, right? It's not complicated, right? So this time, I'm going to give you a nice, clear direction. Don't clap yet. When I go, I want everyone to clap. Ready? Close. Ready? Once more. Beautiful, right? Now that's directive, right? And we need directive at times of crisis. We need directive at times when people need that kind of advice, when people are looking to us for that kind of advice. And then, it really, as you saw at the end of the piece that we did in the very beginning, right? There's collaborative. So now, I'm going to give you a nice collaborative, and you clap when you think it's the right time. Ready? So it's okay, right? Because different things happened. People might feel that they were able to make their own decision there as to when they wanted to clap. And so each of them is valuable. It's not that one is necessary and the other one isn't. It's that we have to know what to do with it. So accept that by being flexible and appropriately adjusting our stance, we can ensure a customized, client-centered dance. Being directive is most useful for people who say, yes, yes, when because of respect, practicality, or crisis, they look to you for success. Of course, that means you need some suggestions that are useful and not daft, which is all the more reason to stay at the top of your craft. It's also important that you shouldn't abuse the power that they give to you, and to ensure that they can look after themselves before your time is through. So when we talk about being directive, one of the most important things we need to do is to work hard enough with our clients and to give them the help that they need, so by the end of their work with us, they can do it on their own. Whoops, go back. Here we go. Being directive never works for people who say no. You have to redirect or find their hooks if they are going to grow. For families who vacillate between saying yes and no, conditionally cooperating depending on how the sessions go, whatever the reason for their shift, the pathway forward is clear. You need to stay flexible as their issues appear. So sometimes directive and helpful is how you need to be, abandoning that stance as they act less cooperatively. The yes but family members really don't mean to perturb. It's just that their life has often been traumatic and disturbed. They have learned to be helpless. They don't see a way out. So any ideas they reject without a doubt. To help them get on the path to flexibility and success, you need to help them realize that life isn't a permanent mess. Turn over the healing process to them, and soon you will see that gaining control of that situation helps the person soon break free. If you decide you have to make a constructive suggestion or two, keep your choices restricted and don't seek ideas new. So if you'd like to know more about all of this, then you can either look at our positive positioning book or the interactive guide, or go to Rick's talk. He's doing a little mini thing on these stances if you want to know more about it. Okay, rule number 5. Conduct each session as if it were a matter of life or death. We should never take our work lightly or not give it complete attention, because the families who come to us are distressed or in a lot of dissension. So if you remember Strauss, the one with the rules, right? Even he wasn't beyond getting a little bit bored.
There were 2 Strausses as a conductor. The one who was interested and the one who was not interested. And very often you had the feeling that he was just serving time or earning his fee and waiting for the card game that came after the performance.
And when was the last time you felt like that? During a session. Okay. Act as if your session is the most sacred, significant task on earth. We should see our work as sacred, each word filled with purpose and worth. So it's asking the difference between, or Mark Twain is saying, the difference between a great word and one that is adequate is the difference between lightning and a lightning bug. So one of the things you want to ask yourself is, in terms of the words that you use with a family, how would you change which words you use and how you conducted your time with them if the person you valued most in the world was watching you work right then? Critical to the process is mindfulness and intent, a state of high awareness, focus that is meant. Even the most mundane act glows when intent is infused there. The basic becomes the magical if intent is in the air. The first step in the process is to have a goal in mind. You have to know the end point of where your actions wind. Next, articulate the steps you need to reach the final target. Don't wander off task or waver with indecision or regret.
There are 2 people on the stage with you here. You think there's just one person sitting here? There are 2 people. One of them is trying to play the violin. The other is whispering in your ear. Practice it out. Do you know how many people play this piece better than you do? Remember that passage you missed it the last time? You're going to miss it again. This is the moment. This is the most important moment right now, which is we are about contribution. That's what our job is. It's not about impressing people. It's not about getting the next job. It's about contributing something. Everybody was clear that you contributed passion to the people in this room. Right? Did you do it better than the next finalist? Or did you do it better than other panelists? I don't know, I don't care. Because in contribution there is no better.
If your intent is strong, all outcomes will improve, and wonder will permeate each and every move. But if you find yourself wondering how to cultivate intent, when overworked and hassled is how your days are spent, when colleagues and paperwork are dominating you, and you're feeling just a little bit like the cook named Wu. This is out of my Tales from the Pocket Messiah. There once was a cook named Wu. He had a very small restaurant where people who were traveling on a country road could stop to eat. Wu was a master of chi, of energy. Every day he would practice his gong fu, his qigong breathing, and his tai chi movements. Wu became very, very powerful. He took all of the energy he built up and sent it into his cooking. Every vegetable he chose, every piece of meat he selected was filled with all of the good qi he had gathered. Because Wu's power was strong, those who ate his food felt fit and happy. Some who were sick when they arrived at the restaurant became well after they had a meal. Wu's reputation soon spread. Travelers rushed to the inn, eager to eat Wu's food. Wu was happy that people liked his cooking and pleased that he could help his customers. Before long, there were so many people wanting to eat at Wu's restaurant that he had to spend most of his day cooking. He could not practice his breathing exercises or do his tai chi. His body became stiff from the lack of gong fu. His fingers began to cramp from long hours of chopping and slicing. There seemed to be so many people to feed, so much food to prepare. It was an endless blur of cutting, stirring, serving. Soon Wu's cooking began to suffer. People would grumble and complain. Some called him a fake. Fights broke out between diners, each accusing the other of receiving a better meal. Eventually, Wu's customers decreased and finally stopped coming. Wu never resumed his qigong, his gong fu, or his tai chi. He just sat on the bench at the front of his inn, waiting for customers who never came. So in order not to burn out, you have to cultivate the ability of putting the right amount on your plate. And if you feel yourself slipping, find a way to restore the passion and the purpose to keep you going more. If you're interested in anything more about all these different parts, we wrote a fable called The Coming Dragon that covers a lot of it in some way, which is what this image is from. I hope you've enjoyed this talk, the music and the journey, but all things come to an end, and it's time to say, Fini.